in November 2024, I decided to put together a bit of a DIY solar install with just 2 panels and 1 micro inverter. This is the 18 months review. We'll talk about, well, the install, the costs, the surprises, and of course, payback and self-consumption. Let's go. Okay, first the setup. So we had 2 new solar panels, 435 watts from Longi. The inverter is an Hoymiles HMS 800 watts. The total cost was about £400, but as you will see, I could have probably cut quite a bit into the actual support structure. So I used those timber screws and put some caster wheels and tried to build something that would be quite robust and that we could move. But the reality is the second panel doesn't need any of that support, and that's absolutely fine as well. So depends on how low cost you want to keep it and how self-standing you want it to be. In practice, I've not moved anything in the last year or so. In the first year, you're going to be playing along with it, you're going to be checking your numbers quite often, and then it's a fire and forget type situation there. You really want them to keep producing and not even think about it. In that case, it was hidden behind the shed, and the idea is that we can't see it. In fact, it was a requirement, and fair enough, we don't want to see the solar panels from the house, from the garden. And that therefore sets the tone in terms of how much light will be coming onto the panels. In that case, they're south facing, which is great, but of course there's a little bit of shade, especially in the winter. There's a lot of shade coming from the trees nearby, and we accept that, and that's part of what we're gonna get given some of the compromises. To switch on and off, we've got a Tapo smart switch. It also allows to do some energy monitoring, which comes in addition to the energy monitoring already embedded into the Hoymiles inverter. Now we need to connect both of them through Wi-Fi, and for that we've got the Wi-Fi extender that pushes the signal into the garden. I'm sure you'll notice that the cables are not particularly tidy, so we'll appreciate the comments below, no problem at all. And you can see also the green cable has taken a little bit of the sun tan and is now more of a yellow. Now, one thing I should mention, in the UK, a DIY solar install is at best in the grey area. Now, I did get the permission from the grid, the UK power networks locally, but you can see that this is not a dedicated circuit, and I don't know that the switch should be done that way. All right, so I'm not sure it is compliant. In fact, it probably isn't, and that's why I'm more than happy with just 800 watts, and I don't think it would make sense to go too much beyond that. It would be great to have 4 panels and look at more of a pergola type install. It would produce more, especially in winter, but I think here we keep it very low key, and that's good that way. All right, now in good old EV Dabbler style, it's time for the stats. So let's look at overall production over 18 months, 810 kilowatt hours. Now we are in June now, so we are still producing quite a bit. It's the good season. You can see that at this time of the day, it's probably 3 p.m. now, and we're still producing 470 watts. That's fine. It's actually a good day, not a perfect day. Let me show you what a perfect day might look like. So that's gonna be the most perfect bell curve that you would get on a given day. And you can see a peak at about 650 watts, which is not the maximum, so maybe the panels weren't perfectly clean. And one of the things also is, of course, as there is more heat, so when it gets a little bit hot, so 27th of May would have been pretty hot, and we don't produce quite as much. So the 700, 800 watts would not necessarily be achieved, but you can see here there was absolutely no shade during the whole day, which is quite rare for the UK, by the way. It's much more classic to see this kind of charts. Now you can see in passing that the Hoymiles app for checking your stats is pretty damn good, I think, and that's only if you have the Wi-Fi connection, obviously. Now let's look at the production by year. You can see the classic charts with again another bell curve here where we produce very little in January, February, and then from April onwards you're pretty much at maximum production. You can see that May was not necessarily producing more than April, and that's something we saw already in 2025. So 90 kilowatt hours in April, pretty much the same in May, pretty much the same in June. Now, we did switch off the panels for, let's call it, maintenance for a little while, so don't read too much into July and August. Okay, but you see that near perfect bell curve otherwise, with essentially the months of production being anywhere between April and September, with a good chunk in March as well. The rest is minimal. Now, on a given year, you might be producing something like 520 kilowatt hours, so half a megawatt hours, and that's very good, I think, given you just leave those solar panels, live their life, leave them there out of sight, and they just produce. And that's what you want to do. One thing that is great with our smart meter is you can see the total export of kilowatt hours. So that means we will know how much those solar panels have exported to the grid and therefore how much we self-consumed. So let's take a look at that, because self-consumption is a key factor in deciding whether you've got a case to invest, if that's how you want to see this. To date, we've produced 809 kilowatt hours, of which 344 ended up being exported. That means self-consumption was 57%. And you can see that across the different periods, you can also estimate how much you've consumed in each period. And of course, in the winter, you will have a lot more consumption of the little amount produced per day, whereas in the summer you still have quite a lot that is self-consumed, but not nearly as much. And in fact, when the weather is very good, we've seen that in that period we had the perfect bell curve, then you are down to nearly 40% of self-consumption. So what is that in terms of amounts consumed in kilowatt hours? Well, you can see that across a good chunk of time across the year, you are going to be using about 1.5 kilowatt hours per day. Now, that's not true in the winter months, but mostly you're going to be able to use about 1 to 1.5 kilowatt hours. And remember, as a household, you might be needing 6, 7, 8, 9, depending on the time of the year, if you're not using any of that for heating your home. Okay, with that we can do a cash payback time. We have produced 809 kilowatt hours. We consume 58% of that. Total used by us, 470 kilowatt hours at about 31 pence per kilowatt hours during the day. So we are avoiding having to pay 31 pence for each and every of those kilowatt hours that we self-consumed. So we've saved £145. We don't get any benefits from the export. I did have a look at that, but I couldn't go forward. You need a bit more than what I had. You need an electrician certification and a few other things. So total cash benefit to date is £145. It's been 1.6 years. We will need 4.3 years to recover £400. So it's actually not that small, despite this being DIY, despite this being pretty low cost. If I had to do it again for just optimizing on cash, I would probably just go ahead and take some used solar panels. I would probably not bother with some of the setup I had with the wheels, with the timber and so on and so forth. But you do want something that is going to stay a little bit longer and can sustain a bit of wind and a bit of the elements. But that's just the cash payback. But for me, it was also a bit of fun. And importantly, I wanted to make sure the carbon emissions are not bad, because there's a lot of embodied carbon emissions in solar panels. So let's look at that kind of payback as well. Okay, so let's look at that carbon payback. We produced 809 kilowatt hours. In the UK, cradle to grave, UK grid would produce about 220 grams of CO2 equivalent emissions per kilowatt hours. Now, I'm discounting that quite a bit because the reality is we produce that energy when everyone else is producing that cheap solar energy. So the reality is it's probably quite a bit less at the time when we produce. If we did have something to produce in the winter, that would be a completely different ball game. So this one is a major estimate. Now, we have displaced, therefore, 165 grams times 809, so that's 133 kilograms of CO2 emissions. We estimate that the embodied carbon emissions of those solar panels, mostly the panels themselves and a little bit of the inverter, are about 320. So you can see that we are somewhat on the way to payback, but not quite. We've done 1.6 years, but we are going to need a total 3.8 years before we are break even. So in other words, the production of the solar panel was worth it given the other sources of energy we could have had from the UK grid. And now, if we were to trash those panels today, if they went end of life, we would have had a source of energy that created 400 grams of CO2 emissions per kilowatt hours, which is incredibly bad. So really, this is not a good time to trash those panels. Of course not, because they've got 20, 25 years, probably a bit more in them. And by then, if we manage to keep those up and running for 20 years or more, we will have achieved 30 grams of CO2 emissions per kilowatt hours, which is obviously an awful lot better than whatever source we were displacing today. Tomorrow, it's a different game. But overall, this is saying this is not a nonsensical project from a pure carbon emissions perspective, which is something that is quite important here. If it's a bit of a hobby project, cash is not king in that case. I think carbon is. With that, let me know what your experience has been. It's probably quite different depending on the countries where you are. You probably have your own thoughts. You probably have your own experience. Let me know down in the comments. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching and goodbye.